act here at Via Rock 94. Whitesnake, David and Adrian still with me, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Greatest Hits album. Actually, no, going back a bit. Actually, I wanted to ask you what factors kind of brought you to reform Whitesnake.
Well,
you'd kind of been because you've kind of been on hold for about 4 years, haven't you, with the Coverdale page?
Yeah, I worked with Jimmy. The first I knew of this Greatest Hits, I was actually rehearsing with Jimmy in London last summer, and I received a cassette from the very informed record company Geffen, who said, "Hope you're enjoying your holiday," you know, and a cassette called Whitesnake's Greatest Hits, and I thought, oh well, they're just trying to capitalize on the Coverdale page thing. Then EMI heard about it and said they wanted to do it, and I was working with Adrian writing songs during a break from his project Manic Eden, and I was invited to do the St. Petersburg thing, the Russian show. And Adrian said, well, who are you going to work with? I said, well, maybe, you know, get a session. I haven't got time to look for a band. Maybe a couple of session guys. And he said, at this time in our lives, why do we want to work with strangers or people we don't necessarily like? And it took me about 5 minutes to say, you're right, you know. And he said, well, I'll be in. We called Rudy. Rudy was there. Kamasi and I had a handshake agreement after Coverdale Page that we would work together on whatever. Rudy recommended Warren, and a former crew associate recommended Paul Merkovich, the keyboard player, who's far too good looking.
I'll look out for him. I'll look out for him. Why isn't he in the interview?
Well, actually, he's wearing a very questionable Prince Valium shirt tonight, so you may see him swanning around. Go away.
Could you give us a little bit of an insight into the tracks that have come up on the Greatest Hits album, because it only covers the last 3 albums?
Yeah, well, as I say, it's in essence a Geffen album. EMI and I spoke about getting hold of the original Whitesnake masters and doing Whitesnake the early years, and having Mike Fraser and I remix them, because everybody seems to have a CD nowadays. And I don't think, you know, we keep the essence but give it a little more of a modern edge or technology or whatever. But nobody could find the 24 tracks, the original, so God forbid where they are, and my ex-manager with them. So that was, because in essence this should be viewed really as volume 2.
Right. Well, thank you for explaining that. Good. Adrian, David mentioned that you've been working on some new material together. Why didn't any new tracks come up on the album? Are they going to be saved for something else?
Well, yeah, actually, you know, we are considering recording a new album, for this album, it was already hard enough to get all the good tracks that are there. You know, to get a selection out of that on one album was already pretty tough. And also, we thought, because the direction that we're working in right now is much more a little bit, you could call it back to Whitesnake's roots, before we got carried away a little bit into the American dream at the end of the 80s. We thought it would be a nice fresh thing to put them all on one album, instead of, you know, mixing them up with stuff that has been around for the last 10, 12 years.
Well, thanks for explaining that. We'll talk a little bit more about new material and future plans for Whitesnake after this break, but taking us into the break, we're going to show you a little tiny snippet of Whitesnake live on stage here at Via Rock Festival. See you after the break with more from